Far out in the uncharted backwaters of the unfashionable end of the western spiral arm of the galaxy lies a small, unregarded yellow sun. Orbiting this at a distance of roughly 92 million miles is an utterly insignificant little blue-green planet whose ape-descended lifeforms are so amazingly primitive that two of them still think doing a podcast called Digital Watches Are a Pretty Neat Idea is a pretty neat idea. These podcasters have, or rather had, a problem, which was this. Actually, this is the solution.
Two men, two amazingly primitive men, thought this was a pretty neat idea. They were dreamers, thinkers, speculative philosophers, or as their wives would have it, idiots.
So, Jeff, what is this?
Well, Brian, I think this is going to be our first episode where we talk about anything that could even remotely be considered controversial.
Oh, really? This is our first controversial podcast?
Yes, I would say it is, because it's all about reboots and spin-offs and their value and their worth and should they even exist.
Okay. Did we really title this, Would You Rather?
I have no idea what this was titled, but it might be that, but it's going to depend on how this episode goes to depend on what that title's going to be.
Right, because I recall that we've had a conversation about the concept, and this conversation could have been titled, Would You Rather?
Yes, and would we rather what?
Well, that's the thing. And I've been thinking about this a lot since you brought it up originally, and we discussed the idea of having this particular conversation. And I believe that you have even mentioned in the previous podcast that you had a conversation with one of your friends about the concept of this particular podcast.
Yes.
And came to a conclusion.
First, what's the question? Rather than would you rather?
Would you rather have a spin-off of a show that you've really enjoyed, or would you rather not have that spin-off?
Right. And we're going to be talking about television here, but I think that the reason this question surfaced initially is from the controversial sixth book, And Another Thing by Ian Colfer.
Right.
Then we did watch the two different Dirk Gently series. All three of these were produced after Douglas Adams' death, and I think the Dirk Gently TV series are the best example of what we're going to talk about. First one came out in 2010. It was by Howard Overman. And the second one in 2016 was by Max Landis.
Mm-hmm.
I know I felt the first version fit the character and the type of stories that were in line with the book. I enjoyed it very much.
Right.
Maybe a little too angry.
Mm-hmm.
The second one had both character and story so unlike the book and Douglas Adams' writing that I wondered if it needed the Dirk Gently name or if it should have just been a totally new character.
Right.
Again, I thoroughly enjoyed the second version, maybe even more than the first.
Oh, I certainly did. And I know that we have discussed this in separate conversations, but never individually targeted like we are for this particular podcast.
Correct.
So we've answered our question in advance when it comes to our current thread of this podcast, which of course is Douglas Adams.
Right.
Would we rather? Yes. Every time and emphatically yes.
Yes. Would we rather have more stuff based on Douglas Adams' works? Good, bad, indifferent, but would we rather have it to either complain about or enjoy or have nothing at all? Mm-hmm. Yes, we want it. Yes, right. Absolutely.
Right. And it even begs the question to the point of what would we have had today if our friend had not passed away when he did?
Yes.
There's so much more potential And we have enjoyed and examined every bit of that. And we're about to do the same with a whole new group of shows and entertainment that you and I have enjoyed for many years.
Correct. We may or may not have seen the entirety of these, but at least we are aware of them and what we're going to talk about.
Right.
However, I do want to mention that we are not going to talk about anything Star Trek because they have so many spin-offs and reboots or whatever that's going to be an episode on its own at a later date.
Right. I mean, we've already had a couple of conversations about Star Trek and how big a fan I am. It only makes sense. There is so much material available in the Star Trek franchise, and I will really enjoy the opportunity that we will have when we do the podcast devoted specifically to Star Trek.
Okay. So what I did was I kind of searched the internet to find as many sci-fi fantasy TV shows that have had reboots and spin-offs, and then we're going to list them and give our impressions of whether they worked and how they worked and if we've even seen them.
Very good. Is there any logical way to do this, Jeff?
Alphabetically.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. We know our friend is out there somewhere insulting people still today.
Correct.
Alphabetically,
yes.
individually, and at times offensively.
So at the end of each of our discussions about these shows, do we have to insult them like Wow Bagger the Infinitely Prolonged?
Yes, of course.
All right. So the first one we're going to start out with is going to be a little bit difficult, at least for me. It is going to be Battlestar Galactica. It originated in 1978, went through 1979. In 2004, they rebooted it.
Right.
I do not believe I have ever watched a single episode of the original series or the reboot. So don't hate me. I am not trying to say this is a bad show because I haven't watched it. But I do want to say that this is an example of what I would consider a perfect reboot, or at least the perfect show to reboot.
Okay.
25 years later, and a lot of technology changed between 1978 and 2004.
Right.
Recreating a show with a totally different look and feel to match a more modern audience is genius.
Right.
And for me, this has always been a maybe I should watch this someday show, but I just have never got there. How about you?
Right. Well, I think I have a similar experience, although I do believe that I have watched a number of episodes. I couldn't say that I've watched the beginning of it. I think that I would have gotten into it somewhere in the middle, and somehow I did lose interest in it and failed to continue to watch it. But I do want to preface our conversation here about these shows by saying, one of the things that we're going to repeat here over and over again as we go forward is you and I are of an age that we remember network television.
Correct.
Network television, and even when we were young, we aren't talking about the multiple networks that are available today. I mean,
talking about pre-cable.
Yes, pre-cable. We're talking about walking up to the television and turning the knob. You remember what a knob?
Yeah. Having to hold the antenna in one hand so the picture came in more clearly.
Exactly. And you and I, we had ABC, NBC, CBS, and PBS.
Right.
So we had 4 channels to deal with. And we also had our favorite, which were even much more fun because you had to go to that special section of the television knobs, turn it to UHF.
Right.
And slowly dial it in like an old radio knob so that you could get the picture to stop being fuzzy.
Yeah, if you happen to live close enough to the signal, you could get it.
Yeah,
Outside of that,
So for us, that was the outsider television that existed in the day. So our experience, even with Battlestar Galactica back in the 70s, late 70s, would have been one where we anticipated and waited a week to watch the next episode.
Right.
And then we got excited at the end to the cliffhanger, and we would wait and eagerly anticipate what's going to happen next. So we were much more in tune with that type of viewing. And all of the shows, well, most of the shows that we're talking about would have been originated during that phase of television history and our history.
Right.
So Battlestar Galactica fell into one of those zones where I think I watched it quite a bit, and then I just fell out of love with it and stopped watching it.
Was that the first one or the reboot?
The first one. The first one.
Okay.
With the Cylons.
Right. Well, I believe the reboot also has Cylons, but...
Right, except aren't they in human form or something? Didn't they modify them so that they look like real people? And...
Like I said, I don't believe I've ever watched a single episode of either of them, which made it really difficult to put this as the first one, but it was B.
What a good choice. Yeah, I believe there was some of that involved. So it must have been that I've seen one of the later versions of that show, but I could not tell you much more than that about it. Wasn't Katie Sackhoff in Battlestar Galactica?
Yes, she was.
Okay.
So both of the shows, the new one and the old one, have permeated pop culture. So you've seen bits and pieces either in commercials or memes or discussion groups or infiltrated other shows. I mean, Katie Sackhoff was in an episode or two of Big Bang Theory because the character of Howard was in love with her. So
right.
You know about all of these people, and that's why I have my feeling that if you're going to do a reboot, the way Battlestar Galactica did it is the way to do it.
Right. Absolutely.
So are we ready to move on to the second one?
Sure.
This is going to be a much newer original show. It's The Boys.
Well, I have experience with The Boys.
Yes. The Boys have two spin-offs. The Boys have The Boys Present Diabolical,
right,
which is an animated feature.
Right.
And they have Gen V. So you say you've got some experience with The Boys, so...
Well, yes. I watched The Boys.
Oh, hold on here.
Okay.
Before you talk about The Boys,
okay,
please insult Battlestar Galactica. No, let's do away with the insults.
All right, you got it.
All of these shows I pretty much like.
I wouldn't even know where to start. Oh my gosh. Thanks, Wowbagger.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so The Boys. I watched The Boys. I really enjoyed it. It has probably one of my favorite pieces of television ever.
Oh.
In that it's got the, I'm trying to recall now, it's been such a long time, but it had little sections at the beginning of the show where it would give you a little preview of what was coming up. And I remember in particular one of them that said, even more explosive decapitations in this episode.
Right.
And I don't know if you remember that, but it was quite the shock when it happened in the original TV show.
Well, absolutely.
And then, of course, in the next episode is when they had that little disclaimer or whatever it was. And I just thought that was absolutely fantastic. It ranks up there for me as one of the best TV moments that ever existed. Well, because I can't forget about it. I don't know why. But...
Yes.
In anticipation of the question that we are asking here, I will answer in that, yes, I was very excited about the prospect of seeing Gen V when I heard that it was coming out. I watched it, and I was almost immediately turned off by the program.
Okay.
And it's funny because the reason that it turned me off was because to be frank, it was the over-sexualization. I don't know if you've seen any of those episodes, have you?
I have seen every episode of every Boys original and every spinoff.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So then you're very much aware of the young lady character.
Getting really tiny and climbing down the tunnel?
Yes. yes. And other scenes in which she plays a very small role on a very large...
Right.
We'll say phallus for the purposes of the...
Right. So we don't have to do
podcast.
Any disclaimers. Bleeping.
But of course, I mean, it's funny, it's memorable, but it's done for shock value. It left nothing to the imagination. Absolutely nothing.
However, The Boys is equally guilty of that.
Oh, yeah. But what was unique about The Boys...
Is that they weren't in high school?
Well, they weren't in high school. Actually, it was college.
Oh, college. Okay.
Right. It's a college, so that's how they get over that 18 issue, you know?
Right.
Because obviously that would be really bad. But in The Boys, the first episode that exploited that particular situation was unexpected. And the shock value was there because you didn't know it was coming, you know?
Right.
But with Gen V, you kind of anticipated something was going to happen, you know, based on the characters that they designed and set up.
Yeah, it's sort of when you go there the first time, it's got its maximum impact. And so,
right.
Yes, it's shock for shock value, but you're shocked because they actually did it.
Mm-hmm.
But once you've gone there, every time you go back, it's not the same. It does seem more exploitative or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Shock for shock, as you said.
Yep.
Or I say outrageous to be outrageous.
Right. And I did actually watch the animated series. I've seen a couple of those, and I can't say that they held my interest very long.
They were worse in the regards of outrageous to be outrageous because it was animated.
Right.
They could do anything.
Right. Exactly.
And they were fun little, short episodes, too. They weren't full hours. They were 20 minutes or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was more of a comedy than the political drama is almost what you could call the other two.
Right. I also want to mention here, because I know we're going to have, this is just the beginning of our conversation, really, but I consider television watching a hobby. I really watch a lot of TV, as you know, but some people would say it's a little obsessive. And I tend now to watch more YouTube than anything else, but it really was and is still, in my mind, a hobby. So I have seen a ton of television, more than the average bear, I would say.
Right. I probably have not seen as much as you, but I also watch many TV programs, and all concurrently. And Denise keeps asking me, how can you watch so many different shows? Like, I don't get confused from one to the other. It's not like every show is the same and you can't remember which happened in which episode. They're all very different.
They are.
One of the things I do want to say about Gen V is currently running on television now, and this is out of the genre, so we're not going to talk about it, but you should be familiar with it, is I think it's Wednesday nights, they call it One Chicago, where they have Chicago Med, Chicago PD, and Chicago Fire all one after the other on the same day. And they are all made by the same people, shot at the same city in Chicago. They're all in the same time period. And they have crossover episodes where all three stories on that night is really just one big story that's told from the three different perspectives. Gen V is that for The Boys. It might as well just be another episode of The Boys because they do crossover characters. It's at the same time. They're dealing with the same exact issues. So I've never had a problem with Gen V. I have enjoyed Gen V as much as I have enjoyed The Boys from the beginning. And to anybody who is interested, today we are recording on the day that the first 2 episodes of The Boys Season 5 has been released. Want to move to something a little less serious than The Boys and a little less offensive?
Sure.
So now we'll move to something a little less serious, and we're going to go to Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which originated in 1997, and it had a spin-off of Angel in 1999.
Right.
Were you a Buffy fan?
I did watch Buffy. I think I watched more Buffy than I watched Battlestar Galactica, that's for sure.
Well, I know I have.
And if I had to say why, it'd probably be Allison Hannigan.
Yeah, okay. This one time at band camp.
Yeah. I was bitten by a vampire. Oh, gosh. I don't know. I don't know. There's certain individuals in the world, that draw your attention. And for some reason, Allison Hannigan would have been one of mine.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So I have watched 2 seasons of Buffy. I watched the first season and I watched the last season. And I watched both of those long after the show was over.
Right.
So I guess what I want to insert here, because we were talking about over-the-air television, and Buffy was pretty much over-the-air television that you had to watch at a certain time on a certain day. For 25 years of my life, I worked afternoons and evenings. So for 25 years of my life, I watched no primetime TV when it aired originally.
Right.
And many of these shows fall into that. Most of them that I have seen that I'm going to talk about, I watched as reruns that were syndicated later.
Yep, that makes sense. And nowadays, that's really what we're all into. We're streaming and we're watching old content.
Yeah, so I certainly never watched Buffy or Angel first run. And wherever it appeared on syndication, for whatever reason, never crossed my path. And like we mentioned, you didn't have other ways to go about finding things. Well, you had ways, but they weren't simple ways of...
Exactly. I'm sitting here thinking about the fact, well, how would we have known? Well, we would have known if we got a copy of the TV Guide. A magazine! Imagine that!
Right.
Literally having to read a magazine to find out your favorite characters and what was upcoming next,
Right.
We used to have that sitting on our coffee table at home.
Right, yes. You'd get the free one in the newspaper, or you could go out and buy one that had special commemorative covers.
Right.
So, back to what you were saying in the syndication version and how you would find out what was on, the way I found out most of the time would be it actually came on after a show I was watching.
Right.
So, here's a show I want to watch. And then all of a sudden, another show comes on, and it's like, now I know this show is on. But if you're always watching these shows, you don't see the others. So I didn't run into Buffy when it came in syndication. And because I never watched Buffy first run when the spinoff of Angel came out, that was all about the David Boreanaz version of a vampire, it didn't make me go, I want to go see this. So I have not seen any Angel, though I have seen some Buffy. It's a really good show, and I enjoyed what I saw, but it didn't draw me in. There wasn't anything about it that made me go, I have to watch this.
Right, right. And the other piece of the puzzle here that plays into the old version of network television is that even if you might have been interested in a program like Buffy when it first came out, if you missed the first 8 shows and you picked it up on the 9th, you might not be that interested in watching 10 and 11 and 12 going forward, because you're like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know the characters. You haven't seen the character development. And you couldn't just go back to some other source and watch episode 1 through 8 so you could get yourself back online.
Right, exactly.
It wasn't the same kind of viewing experience that you were able to have.
So we'll move on to the next show, which is Charmed, which gets compared to Buffy quite a bit.
Oh, it does.
The original Charmed was my guilty pleasure. I mean, the cast of characters there didn't matter what the show was about. When I saw this was being rebooted in 2018, I didn't immediately shrug it off, but I also didn't run to it. I'm like, I want to check this out.
Right.
And one day it seemed that the stars aligned and I found myself with nothing else I needed to watch, and it was on. So I'm like, oh, good. I've had an opportunity to watch this rebooted version of Charmed. So I watched an episode. Well, I tried to watch an episode. I gave up in the middle of the first episode. And I'm not giving it an accurate critique because the reason I stopped watching after a short time is I realized I was in the wrong generation that this show is targeted to.
Yep.
And I couldn't relate to anything that was going on.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
The show lasted 4 seasons, so it must have had an audience.
Right.
But it wasn't for old white guys. Do you have any memories of Charmed?
No, not really. Not really. I probably seen a few episodes here and there, but no, I can't say that I have any recollection of Charmed.
So now we're going to move to one that has had quite a history.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Doctor Who. Doctor Who went from 1963 to 1989 and then took a break.
Right.
And in 2005, it was rebooted. And in 2023, it was rebooted. And it has a couple of spin-offs, Torchwood and The Sarah Jane Adventures. And there was even a show called Class. I have seen so much Doctor Who. In fact, of the Doctor Who and the first reboot,
Right.
I've seen every available episode.
Wow.
There are 2 I haven't seen because they just found them,
Okay.
like last month. So I've not seen those yet, but I decided to be one of those guys that went back to the very first episode of Doctor Who and started watching from the beginning and watched every single one, even the recreations that just have still pictures with the dialogue and subtitles. It is a grind, but I got through it, and it's one of my favorite shows.
Right. Well, that does not surprise me. I mean, one thing that I've known about you for all the time that we've been friends is that you are quite the completist. If there's an opportunity and you have the passion, you will complete it.
Yes.
Now, for me, I have to say that I probably watched a significant amount of it during the 2005 to 2000. I won't go as far as 22, but 2005 probably through, I don't even know. But I have not seen Torchwood. I've not seen Sarah Jane or Class. So I'm not as up to speed on all of their little spin-offs. But I did really enjoy the television that I watched. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, I probably watched stuff in the 80s too. I'm sure of it.
Right.
I'm sure I watched the stuff in the 80s as well.
Well, you were talking about The Boys having one of your top all-time favorite TV moments. But if you take TV episodes, the first spin-off of Doctor Who, I am going to say, has what I would put one of the top TV episodes of all time. It's a standalone episode. You don't have to know anything that happened before it or after it. If you're familiar with the Doctor Who universe, of course you will enjoy it a whole lot more because you're not trying to play catch-up of what the blue box is. But I believe it's called The Doctor and Vincent. It's the Doctor Who episode with Matt Smith as the Doctor, and he encounters Vincent van Gogh.
Fantastic.
It is an incredible incredible episode.
Well, I'll definitely have to seek that one out and watch it for sure. Now,
Everybody should.
Right. Now, I did what you suggest. Well, I don't think you suggested this, but when I was looking for new streaming content, I went back and started watching the very first episodes that were available of Doctor Who from the beginning, the BBC content with the original Doctor.
Okay.
And I think I got through about 6 or 7 of them, but I lost my will to live. I can't say that. It wasn't that bad. But, I mean, some of it was real campy. And it was meant to be campy. I mean, that was its forte, you know?
The original Doctor Who was a children's program.
I can believe it.
It is aimed towards kids. So it's very simple. It can be very campy. There's a message. You know, it's getting kids to think and getting kids to learn without them realizing they're being taught.
Right. Well, that's interesting. I didn't know that was its original framework, but it makes sense based on what I remember watching. So, you know.
And the first spin-off that they had was Torchwood. That happened in 2006. Torchwood, I was excited about Torchwood, and I watched it, and I enjoyed it. It wasn't the best show ever, but it was the side character from Doctor Who that we get to learn what he is. The fans react to a character on the show, and then the show says, hey, we should build a show around this guy. And they just keep it going. Since the character of Jack belonged to a totally different organization and did different things, it's not just a knockoff of Doctor Who.
Right.
It's its own entity, which I like that. And it's a different feel to Doctor Who. But I do think it is worth watching. I've heard of the Sarah Jane Adventures. She's palling around with K9. I believe it is targeted toward a younger audience. I have not seen it. It's on my maybe someday I will watch this list. Before this research, I had never heard of the show Class. It is a BBC show, and it may not have made it to any of the American channels. So it could be that's why I have never heard of Class. Now I am going to probably say something that is controversial.
Uh-oh.
So here we go. We mentioned controversy in the beginning.
Right.
The most current thing we have ever talked about is
Dun, dun, dun.
the new Firefly.
Firefly
Season 2 has been in development since March of 2026. It's going to feature the return of the original cast. And the project is set between the end of Season 1 and the movie Serenity.
Okay.
So this is going to just be a true Season 2.
Okay.
However, it is going to be animated.
Right.
And all the original characters are going to voice their characters.
Okay.
Which is tremendous. There are many in the Firefly fandom who are literally pissing themselves with joy over this development. And I am so happy that they're getting this much joy out of the idea of this Season 2. For me, I'm just feeling bad for them of the disappointment they are going to feel when the actual show appears.
Yes, I can appreciate that. I mean, I know that you have been a huge fan of Firefly since its beginning, and I certainly enjoyed it.
I am such a fan of Firefly that my feelings on this are, sorry, you missed your window. You had an opportunity whenever to bring it back. But
Right.
at this time, to bring it back as what they're bringing it back as is not what I want.
Right.
Now, Will I watch it?
Oh, no doubt.
No doubt. However, I will say this because of how I feel about it.
Right.
I will not subscribe to a streaming service I do not have.
Right. Right.
Like if this is owned by Disney, which I think I have heard, and it is a Disney Plus subscription, I don't have Disney Plus.
Right.
And I am not going to get Disney Plus just to watch an animated version of Firefly.
Right. Right.
I will find other ways
Right.
to see it eventually.
But doesn't this...
Whatever those ways might be.
Exactly. But doesn't this beg a question here? And this is a good example of what we're talking about. I mean, it's the pinnacle example in my opinion. Firefly, great show, huge fan base. I mean,
Yes.
for as few episodes that are out there and the movie,
Yep.
it's got tremendous fan base.
Mm-hmm.
But if I were one of those fan fanatics for Firefly, what would they call themselves? A flylet?
I actually don't know what they coined themselves.
A fire it? I would want to question the premise, because nothing bothers me more than knowing the end before the beginning starts. So if you're going to put it between season 1 or after season 1, that's fine. But to put it before the movie, you already know all the characters are not going to die. You already know they're going to live through everything they do. There's no suspense involved.
I guess they really wanted to bring Wash back, and Wash dies in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
He's the pilot, and he's Zoe's husband, so they needed to bring him for this. They wanted to do that. So yes, you do know the fates of these characters are set.
Mm-hmm.
As good as the stories are,
Mm-hmm.
and this is one of my all-time favorite scenes, and when I explain the scene, you will say, well, you sick bastard. But
I say that every day, but what will be unique?
in the last episode of Firefly, which is called Objects in Space, there is a bounty hunter that has come to collect River off of Serenity, and he breaks onto the ship basically when everybody is asleep, or should be asleep.
Mm-hmm.
There is a scene where he is talking to Kaylee, who was in the engine room.
Right.
And he caught her unawares because nobody should be on this ship and she's just completely confounded.
Right.
And he basically cuffs her or ties her to some piece of equipment so she can't get away.
Right.
He tells her that he will leave her alone. However, if she makes any kind of ruckus or screams and yells and makes his life difficult, I believe the words he used were, her body is forfeit.
Mm-hmm.
And when he is giving that speech and the camera is zoomed in on Kaylee's face and you can see the horror in her eyes and a single tear runs down her cheek, you can't animate that and have the same impact.
No.
There's absolutely no way you can do an animated show and elicit that kind of emotion and that kind of tension and that kind of real fear. That's what made Firefly brilliant, because they had little snippets like that throughout every single episode.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Micro expressions, little tiny expressions from the actors that are conveying so much in their acting cannot be animated.
Right.
So I am not looking forward to this. Now, should I say it should never exist? No, do it. You know, you as the creators are going to be probably, my guess, is disappointed in the response you get from it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But by all means, if you finally have gotten the go-ahead after all of this time, absolutely do it. But wow, you missed your window. So I don't know.
Yep.
Firefly fans are going to probably hate me, but believe me, I love this show so much that I don't want to see this.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can appreciate that. But at this point, even if they wanted to, how could they explain the aging of the characters? I mean, they're 25 years older, you know? I mean, what are you going to do?
Hence the animation.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the logic that they have, you know? Now, are they going to go for some super realistic animation? Or are they going to go for some,
No, not from what I've seen.
Saturday morning animation?
Closer to that.
Right.
Right. It's not going to be Warner Brothers animation, but it's going to be more. I can't remember the name of the animation studio because I don't watch that many animated things.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be more like Transformers, less than Bugs Bunny.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, when it comes to that, I mean, it's funny because we're there, I think, at the point now where the AI generated character is pretty close. I mean, it does get to that point where the uncanny valley can happen, and we might be pretty uncomfortable with that. I know that I've seen some stuff recently that kind of bugs me, where the actor is doing the voiceover, and it's the original actor because you can't fake their voice, but the face is from their experience or video or whatever from 20, 30, 40 years ago. So you get the smooth skin of their youth, and the ages of their voices don't quite match their face. So it's pretty uncomfortable when they do that. But they have that potential with Firefly to do something like that in terms of his animation. But they certainly couldn't put the original actors in their original positions and just pretend like a year has gone by.
No, so many years have gone by, and this is where we are now, and it's a whole new. Everything has changed. Everything you knew about that universe has gone through a change, and the Browncoats are going to make another run against the whatever it is. I can't even think of it right now.
Right.
But I also would have rather seen a spin-off.
Yep.
You missed your window for Firefly.
Right.
The movie was all about the revelation that there was a planet that they tried to put something in the atmosphere that made everybody calm. And the planet was Miranda. And they have little tiny snippets of what was happening on Miranda at the time. Do a whole show called Miranda that runs us through the creation of this planet, the decision to put the gas, and then the creation of the Reavers, while the rest of the population is just so calm and content they lay down and die. That might be a show that I would be interested in watching. Rather than an animated, I don't know. Let's get off of Firefly. I don't want to talk about it more.
It's hard to, because and I know that this announcement is literally weeks old. So we've had just a few weeks to kind of anticipate and prepare our minds for what's coming.
Right.
And we are both of the same mind, I think, that we don't know that we're going to like this so much. But being that fan is the short version of fanatic.
Yes.
I don't know that we have much of a choice. We will watch it. We
Absolutely.
will. It'll be something that we go through and I hope enjoy.
Right. Even if one day I have to come over to your house and spend a week so I can binge the entire thing if it's on Disney Plus.
Well, you are more than welcome. We will always have Disney Plus here.
So now we're going to move on to Game of Thrones from 2011. They have a current spin-off called House of the Dragon, and there is an upcoming spin-off called A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms.
Right.
Are you a Game of Thrones fan?
You know what? I do really want to talk about Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Game of Thrones is something that's really kind of special to me. And because we're here to talk, I'm going to tell you a little story.
Okay.
I think I may have told you this in person before, but this is for the audience. When my grandmother died in South Carolina, I went to her funeral with my family, and I wish I could tell you the specific dates, but for some reason in my mind, I've never been able to put these dates together really well. But I went there, and when I was down there in South Carolina, I got to see one of my cousins who I hadn't seen for, oh my gosh, must have been 15, 20 years prior to that. And while we were at the funeral and while we were at the hotel reminiscing about the old times, we got to talking about some of our favorite literature.
Okay.
And the two of us, when we returned home, did a book exchange. He sent me some books and I sent him some books. One of the books that he sent me was Game of Thrones.
Okay.
So I read this book prior to the show coming out.
Okay.
It was not far past when the original book was released. I did read it in paperback, and I remember very distinctly watching the original television show religiously, but I annoyed everybody that was around me.
That's not how it was in the book. That's not how it was in the book. That's not how it was in the book.
Exactly. And I will have to say that there are two things that were very, very, very frustrating about reading George R.R. Martin's books. Okay.
Okay.
One is, if you read the books, the dragons don't show up forever. They talk about dragons. They talk about the history. They talk about all of it. But the dragons
are extinct pretty much in the beginning of the book.
Yep. They don't show up. You keep thinking they're going to be there. You keep reading page after page, wondering. Have you read any of the books?
I have read 2.5. I got halfway through the third book in the series, and I had to stop, and I never went back to it.
Right. Because they're thick. I mean, they're huge books. A lot. They're very, very, very dense. But the story that they represented in the TV show was similar, but not the same. And I was pretty much disappointed by that, to the point where I'm sure I've seen all of the episodes of the original Game of Thrones show, but I lost my interest in it because some of the parts of the story that I found most appealing, most attractive, are not included. And that kind of bothered me.
Right. I've watched all of Game of Thrones, and I am late, but I'm probably in the middle of season 2 of House of the Dragon. And I'm trudging through it. Have you watched any of the House of the Dragon?
I have not.
I was mildly excited when I heard it was coming out, but I really didn't have high hopes. First, the production level is so inferior to Game of Thrones. When they decided to make the sequel, I am sure what they said is, sure, we can make a sequel, but we can't spend that kind of money. Everything about the acting and the script and the lighting and the sets makes me think I'm watching a soap opera.
Okay.
On top of that, it's boring.
But you know what? Isn't that more predictive of the reading the books? I mean, the book was fascinating in the detail that it did give, but it certainly was not like riveting to the storyline.
No, absolutely not. I saw somebody talk about Game of Thrones and compared it a little bit to House of the Dragon, and what he said I completely agreed with. All of your favorite parts of Game of Thrones are going to be when nothing happens. You've got two mismatched characters that have been thrown together for some reason, traveling from this place to that place. and you watch them interact and you listen to them interact and you fall in love with those characters and that interaction. And then they cut to another scene with two mismatched characters that are going from one place to another, and you're watching them interact and talk to each other, and you fall in love with those characters and their interaction. There's nothing happening. There's no, it's all character development and watching them travel.
Right.
And then they'll get to where they're going, and then there's the big battle scene that costs all the money, and everybody goes, ooh and ah. But the love for the show came from the character development. They've skipped that part in House of the Dragon.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, now you made me want to at least watch one episode so I can see what you're talking about.
Yeah, I would really like you to watch one episode and say, wow, it is a soap opera. So because of House of the Dragon, I am not rushing and waiting with bated breath for A Night of the Seven Kingdoms to come out. I'll wait for some reviews to see if it's more of the same or if they've really changed.
Right. It's interesting, but yeah, that's where my heart sank, when I watched the original, and the other thing that's, I guess, really relevant is that I don't have HBO.
Oh, that would make it a little bit difficult. So when you come visit out here, I have HBO. We can sit down and watch an episode.
You got it.
So we'll move on down our list.
Okay.
And now we are going to go to something near and dear to my heart.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is Hercules, The Legendary Journeys from 1995. And its spin-off, Xena Warrior Princess, also 1995. And Young Hercules, 1998.
Right.
I used to look forward to Sunday nights when I could relax, lay on the couch at night, and watch this silly fantasy television program with a couple of guys fighting monsters with really poor special effects.
Sounds like 60s TV to me.
Then, at the end of season 1,
right,
they introduced this character, and while I'm watching these episodes, I'm thinking, they should do a TV show about her. And at the end of the last episode of the season, they're like, coming soon, and they're doing a show about Xena.
Right.
Over the moon, watched it all, loved every minute of both.
Yep.
It took me a while to get to Young Hercules. Young Hercules is a character that was in 4 episodes of the original series when they were doing flashbacks to when he was a kid.
Right.
And it was also a movie.
Right.
It starred an actor named Ian Bohen. Ian Bohen did not continue as Young Hercules in the TV series. So when they did the TV series, did not have the same actor as you were watching in the original TV show.
Okay.
Did kind of bug me. Apparently he didn't do that because he wouldn't move to New Zealand to do the filming.
Okay.
He didn't want to go to New Zealand for a year.
Right.
So, do you know who replaced him in Young Hercules? And Young Hercules was a half-hour show, and it was totally geared for kids, and it was like a Saturday morning or a Saturday afternoon program.
No, I don't believe I do know who was Young Hercules.
Young Hercules was played by the then unknown Ryan Gosling.
Oh my gosh. I think he's lived that down.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So it has always been hysterical watching his rise to stardom, knowing where he started.
Right.
On one of my favorite shows.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, Xena Warrior Princess. I watched quite a bit of that. I don't think I watched it religiously, but I did really enjoy it. And again, there you're talking about character development, and it was excellent with that. Again, lots of campy fighting, but it made it fun.
Yeah, and because Xena and Hercules were both on Sunday late TV on a syndicated channel, not a major network, I was able to watch it all first run, or most of it first run. So
right.
Again, my TV watching was based on excess more than anything else.
Right.
Would have I enjoyed this show if I could watch something else? Maybe not. But when you're forced to watch something,
Yep.
you grow to love it.
Mm-hmm,
What is that called? The Munchausen effect or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yep.
All right, so we'll move down now to Heroes
Oh, gosh.
and its spin-off Heroes Reborn.
Oh, okay.
So how much of either of these have you watched?
I believe I've watched the entire series of Heroes,
Yes, me as well.
but I think you pointed out to me one day when we were talking about this concept here that Heroes in my mind does pretty much kind of fade out as the episodes stretched on in the original version of the show. One of the things that you have to deal with, and I don't think they did it very well, is the arc of the show. And I gotta say that in terms of network TV, that was always a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you made a commitment for network television, it really was a commitment of 1 year at the best.
Yes, and not 10 episodes.
Right,
We're talking
right.
22 episodes a season.
Right. In that respect, you, as a producer or creator or whoever it was that was pitching the show, you pitched a show. You put together a individual pilot, maybe. You had, what do they call that? A napkin version, something you could write in a very small space, the whole arc of the show, so that you could pitch it to all the people out there. And you didn't go in knowing you were going to have 6 seasons or 5 seasons. So it's only the best shows out there, in my opinion, that have been able to maintain an arc from the beginning to their eventual end. And Heroes just lost it. I mean, they just lost it. I mean, everything from day one of Heroes was save the cheerleader. I mean, that was the arc of the show,
I might be wrong, but I swear that I have heard, and I heard this ages ago, and I probably heard it during the original airing of the first season of Heroes, that the creator, Kring, I believe is his last name, created Heroes specifically as a 1-season show. That's all he wanted.
Right.
I want 1 season, and I have my show.
Right.
And then they said, there's no way you can stop. You have such an audience, you've got to continue. But I don't have a story. It's like,
right.
And, but I don't have anything.
Right. And we laugh because you and I have had a lot of different conversations about different TV shows, and we were just complaining about the nature of the Game of Thrones and how it's like a soap opera. Well, a soap opera exists because it's all about the character, and 90% of the soap opera show doesn't have to be written because it's a rewrite from the previous day or the previous week or whatever,
Right.
Because it's just repeating what happened before so that you could get yourself in a place where you can advance the story, advancing the story by an inch and moving forward,
Right.
And with the soap opera, you can introduce new characters, you can kill off people, you can do all that kind of thing year over year. And that kind of an arrangement is available to you as a soap opera. But with a show like Heroes, when you start it off and all you have is one arc that says save the cheerleader, how can you do that? There's no potential place to go.
Right.
Until the
save
cheerleader
the cheerleader,
dies.
save the world.
Yeah, exactly. And once that happens, it's over,
Right. That was his idea.
Right.
He thought that was good enough that they could no longer say, make another episode or season.
Right. But on the other hand, now I think about that, I'm sitting here thinking about Heroes. Well, I mean, that's what we're talking about, but I'm sitting here thinking about The Boys. And I think to myself, well, why is it that The Boys can have another season? Well, it's kind of simple. The main character they want to kill is unkillable.
Right. Yes.
So they can go through hundreds of methods of killing the guy.
Right.
So he's never going to die. So, that, and so my thoughts really on Hero is I had zero interest in Reborn because I had lost interest at the end of the series of Heroes.
Right. So first I want to say something along the lines of what you were talking about with Save the Cheerleader, Save the World. We had a conversation ages ago about a show that didn't actually have a spinoff, so we're not going to talk about it here, but it was Earth Final Conflict. It was a Gene Roddenberry property.
Right.
And every week when you were watching the opening, it was about these aliens that were trying to take over the Earth, and there was only one guy that could stop them. And then at the end of season 1, he got into a contract dispute, and they killed off his character and brought in a new character. And we're both going, but wait, he was the only guy that could stop him. How do you kill off the guy you said is the only guy that can stop him?
Right.
Yeah, so that show had its own problems. And again, we're not here to talk about that.
Right.
But I was so excited when I heard Heroes Reborn was coming. For this reason. In my mind, like I mentioned, Heroes was a one-season show that had a great first season that was forced to do more seasons and then slowly got worse because the guy didn't have any ideas.
Right.
And then it went away for 5 years. And then he's like, I want to do Heroes Reborn. And I'm like, he's got a new idea. He's had time to sit down and figure out what kind of a direction he would want to go. So he's starting fresh. And the first season of Heroes was so phenomenal that this, starting fresh again, had to be equally phenomenal.
Right.
And I was equally disappointed. House of the Dragon suffered from one of the main faults I had with this show. It started out running.
Right.
Because we cared about the characters in Heroes. We cared about Heroes.
Right.
And they believed that since we cared about the characters in Heroes, we are just going to care about the new characters immediately without ever getting to know them. They also tried to do characters that would remind you of other characters, like Hero from Heroes, which was this super enthusiastic Japanese guy. Everybody loved him. Well, now they got a guy that's kind of with that same energy, but it's a negative energy, and he's a very Jar Jar Binks type of grading. So it's really hard to watch. So they got that problem. And then I'm not a gamer, and I cannot believe people watch live streams of people playing games. However, I believe you are guilty of that at times.
Yes, and I will qualify that. I will not watch gamers or people playing games that I would play.
Okay.
There's a slight difference there because there's a lot of folks I know, including my son, who loves to play this game, and he'll watch hours of people playing the same game.
Yes.
But that's not me. And I tried to explain this to my wife, which it's futile. And I don't know why I try. But if I'm watching a couple of people playing a game and it's all new to me, it's fresh, new content. There's a narrative. There's a story. I'm enjoying watching them do something. they're creating something new that I've never seen. And if it's a game that I think I'm going to play or might enjoy playing on my own, I won't watch that because I want to experience it myself. So it's like a soap opera in that I know that they're going to start at a certain place and go to a new place, but there is an arc to the watching.
Right.
At least in the ones that I watch, because most of the people that I watch playing games are playing the campaign version of the game. It's not like an endless open world where they're just never going to get anywhere or do anything. It's got a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's a story.
Right. I am 100% absolutely, and if you're getting this impression, I apologize. I am not throwing shade on people who watch that type of programming on YouTube. It's just because I don't play games, I'm not interested in it. I don't understand it, but people are watching less and less. Anyway, that's the reason I bring that up, is that because of the popularity of that back in 2015, it was probably in more of its infancy.
Right.
They included something like that in Heroes Reborn.
Oh, really?
There is a character that becomes a video game character and enters a video game world. And then
Tron, huh?
we watched the animated fights.
Oh my gosh.
However, it is not a game. It's scripted. There's nothing happening that will ever make anyone in awe of the skill of the player, because there's not a player. It's just a scripted animation video game thing.
Wow.
So that another thing that kind of lost me, and they do it for a reason, and I'm not trying to spoil anything, but that bugged me. So yeah, I had a very disappointing watching of Heroes Reborn that I was looking forward to. Am I going to say it should never have existed? No. But you got to try. Somebody's got to try something.
Right. Now, I know you probably already told the story and you may even be bored of it, but it's still one of my favorite events for you and I and the convention. And that's
I was wondering
Hayden.
if I was going to tell that.
Your interaction with Hayden.
Yeah, so I was going to get Hayden's autograph on one of my trading cards for Heroes, and she was the cheerleader.
Right.
I mean, she was the cheerleader that they had to save the world. So my interaction with her is you're always trying to figure out something to say to these characters. And I thanked her for being part of a television show that showed television what television could be. And her response was, and then they forgot. And I believe she also told me her agent warned her off of doing Heroes Reborn. So Heroes Reborn revolves around her kids, and she's not part of the show at all.
Wow.
She's just mentioned every once in a while. Her dad from the show is on it, and again, the show revolves around her kids, but she decided to back out, and I think her agent steered her well.
Is grateful to this day.
Yes.
Yep, that was fantastic.
So now we're going to go on to another one
From
that
the
I'm going to
sublime
guarantee
to the ridiculous.
Yes, that nobody's going to see this one coming, but it does fall into the science fiction category in my book. But that is Knight Rider.
Wow.
In 1982. They rebooted it in 2008. And then there was a show called Code of Vengeance in 1985 and Team Knight Rider in 1997.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny. When you put this on the list, I'm like, what? I don't remember any of those. I mean, obviously Knight Rider, because at the time, who could not know about it? I mean, it had a lot of popular shows, it was very big back then. It was goofy, but, it was the beginning of the AI age, I guess, right? The computer, the car, that becomes the intelligence of the show.
Yes. The Pontiac Firebird was an artificial intelligence car that could think for itself and help out Michael Knight. And I watched some of the original when it was on.
Oh, so did I.
And it was a laughable show that was mindless entertainment that you could just absorb.
Right.
I mean, you didn't have to pay attention. There was nothing complicated about it. It was just loads and loads of fun. I didn't watch a episode of either of the spin-offs, Code of Vengeance or Team Knight Rider, either of those. I didn't even know they existed until I was doing this research.
Right.
I did remember that they did a Knight Rider reboot. I did not watch any of it because we're too close to the future that the original alluded to.
Right.
And they didn't, in what I saw of the commercials, go beyond it.
No.
So it's not anything that you would go, oh, maybe someday. Because that
No,
day's
you go
here.
back and say, oh, I guess that's what it used to be like.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so we're not gonna spend any time on Knight Rider.
No, but that's so funny. I mean, I just remember that Knight Rider was a fun kind of show to watch when you didn't have anything else to watch. But I can't believe that it actually had spin-offs like that, you know?
Again, I didn't either. Absolutely. So now we're gonna go to Lost in Space.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it.
1965 was the original.
I know. And could you imagine that? 1965 to 1968. I mean, obviously, I was alive back then.
Right.
But I watched Lost in Space like you did. It was a weekend show. It was a, rerun show, late nights. I loved Lost in Space.
Everybody did.
I thought it was just a fantastic show. Black and white. Dr. Smith, what a character he was. The concept of the Robinson family being eternally misplaced and having to recreate life on different worlds. It was a fascinating story.
Yes.
And it came back.
It came back in 2018. There was a movie, but we're not going to talk about movie versions of TV shows because that's not really a spin-off or anything. But the TV show came back in 2018. And again, this is another example of what I would call the perfect reboot.
Right. And I will say, to me, this is an example of the perfect reboot. Like you say, I really thoroughly enjoyed it. The reboot and the original.
Yes, this time there is a 50-year time span between the original and the reboot.
50 years.
And like Battlestar Galactica, the look and the feel is completely different.
I mean, it is an interesting choice that they made Dr. Smith a woman in the reboot.
Yes.
Interesting choice.
Definitely. That is one of the things that they absolutely nailed. I mean, everything about the Dr. Smith character is nothing like the Dr. Smith from the TV show.
Oh, right. And the way that she's portrayed by the actress that does the role is phenomenal. She's despicable. I mean, she is despicable.
Yes. Yeah. Absolute worst person in the world.
Oh, my gosh. But again, at least through the arc of the show, you learn to appreciate the story and the individuals. I mean, there's some good character development in this show. I mean, they really did a good job with the concept here. It does tend to focus on the matriarch far more than the original show did.
Right.
Which is interesting because I didn't even realize this until a couple of episodes in. She's in a show called Doc, which I think is contemporary. I think it's being released right now.
Okay.
And it's a very good show. She's a good actress. But I really did appreciate the fact that they brought Lost in Space back. And I know we're not going to talk about the movie, but I loved the movie as well. I just thought that was great. That's with the actor who plays Joey.
Yes.
on Friends.
Yeah.
You know, for me, that's a redemptive arc. I think he does a good job in the movie, and it's an interesting spin on it. It's not quite the same as the Lost in Space concept that they have in the original movie, or I'm sorry, in the original TV show.
Mm-hmm.
But it certainly is a good idea, and I would have loved to see it expanded beyond the, I guess, essentially one season that it did do. But it really was fun to see those characters back again.
Most certainly.
That to me was a lot of fun. And the way they played the robot in the movie, I thought was good too.
Yes, absolutely. The robot in the spin-off is completely a totally new thing than the original TV show.
Absolutely. Yep. Mm-hmm.
TV show, they brought a robot with them.
Right.
And in the new spin-off, they acquire a robot.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, that's a good point.
The next show we're going to talk about is Orphan Black from 2013.
Right.
Had a spin-off called Orphan Black Echoes in 2024.
Really? I'm not even aware of that one.
I think it's Amazon Prime, and I was flipping through some channels, and because of its algorithm or whatever, it went, here, you might like this. And I went, oh, all right. Now I've got something I have to watch.
Well, now I think I might too. Tell me. I did watch Orphan Black. I think I got through the entire series. I'd have to go back and check just to refresh my memory. But what is Echoes about?
All right. So Tatiana Maslany was what made Orphan Black work so well.
Mm-hmm,
she was so fantastic of playing the same person in different personalities for the different clones.
Right.
Absolutely fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I see Orphan Black Echoes. It's starring Kristen Ritter. I'm a big Kristen Ritter fan. I loved Jessica Jones. So I watched this as soon as I found it.
Mm-hmm.
She did not have the same type of role. She was not playing multiple versions of herself, so she didn't have to do that. Cloning is not an impossible technology on which to suspend your disbelief.
Right.
When you're watching Orphan Black and they're talking about cloning a person, you don't have to say, okay, I'll buy it. It's possible in my mind.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
However, it's really difficult to suspend your disbelief when they're doing 3D printing human beings.
Oh, jeez. Have you seen the movie Mickey 17?
I have not seen it. I've heard of it, but I don't know anything about it.
Okay. Well, they have that technology in this story.
Which technology?
3D printing human beings.
Oh, all right.
However, they have a very strict, very, very strict rule in the movie anyway, that no clone can exist while the prior clone exists.
Okay.
So there can only be one at any given time. There can never be a second copy made of any particular individual. And you can commit yourself to this cloning technology, and then you become, I mean, I love this show. I thought it was fascinating. Okay. Then you can become, like in Mickey's case, he is killed
okay,
over and over again with various really bizarre things that they're testing to see how the product will work. And he, is brought back to life with all of his memories intact, even the memories of his death, his prior deaths. It was a well done movie, I thought, but it has the same kind of concept in it. So how did the Echoes show represent the 3D technology printing human beings?
It was like this. The 3D printing technology was invented for organ replacement because of the need of organs. And if they could 3D, And it was said that you would never be able to do an entire body and put a consciousness in it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not even going to try. Ha ha. So somebody said, oh yeah, you want to bet? and then printed out a Kristen Ritter. That's a very rough idea, but that's how that show is going. But when you said about Mickey 17 that they can't print one while a version of it exists,
Right.
it all of a sudden made me think of the Lintillas.
Exactly.
Hey, look, a Hitchhiker's reference. We worked one in.
Yay, qualifies. All expenses are paid.
Right.
Interesting. So how many episodes were there? Or did you watch them all?
Yeah, it was one season, 10 episodes. It was entertainment, but it did not compare to the original.
Mm-hmm.
Should it exist? Of course. Why not? Try something. You know, it could have been the greatest thing ever.
Right.
Again, I got to watch Kristen Ritter for 10 episodes.
Right. Right.
So now we'll move on to Quantum Leap.
Quantum Leap.
Started in 1989. Scott Bakula.
Mm-hmm. Scott Bakula.
Rebooted in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
With the 29-year gap, you would imagine that this would be a show that I would think was the perfect reboot.
Yes.
A campy old 80s TV show was modernized.
Right. Right.
However, when I heard about this, I thought, you gotta be kidding me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what differentiates it in my mind of don't ruin Quantum Leap for me type of a thing. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
If I had to put it on paper, it would be that this was not a stereotypical space drama, but something unique and should be left alone.
Mm-hmm.
When it aired, it seemed like it was some of the best show in its time slot, so I gave it a chance.
Okay.
The reboot, that is. And I was pleasantly surprised.
Right.
They're callbacks to the original show, but they're not ham-handed or in your face. And the reboot leaned on government conspiracies more than it did a poor guy just trying to get home.
Right. Right.
And the only other thing I want to talk about it is that I was talking to my brother, not necessarily about reboots and their worth, but just about the Quantum Leap reboot and the original. And he said, have you gone back and watched any of the original Quantum Leap in a while? I'm like, no. He's like, maybe you don't want to. So he made it sound like it was a show that really hasn't stood the test of time. Again, I've not watched an episode of Quantum Leap in decades, so I can't say whether or not it held up. But I know I love the original, and I liked the new reboot, and I'm happy they gave it a go.
Right.
Whether or not it was completely successful.
No, and I watched the original and enjoyed the original for what it was. You know, it did have a lot of, I won't call it political, but it did have a lot of, you know, touchy-feely sort of stuff in it, which was fun, you know. And I did watch part of the remake.
Okay.
But I don't recall having the same feeling about it. I think I got like 5 or 6 episodes into it and stopped watching it. I don't remember why exactly, but you know me with TV, if I have a slight interest, I'll keep watching.
Yeah.
But you know what I think is funny, and was Scott Bakula. I love Scott Bakula. I think he's a great actor, but they say he has a curse. I don't know if it's true or not, whether he has a curse, but every show he's ever been on in a series like show has not gone as far as they imagined it would. It gets killed earlier than you think it's going to.
He has not been a curse because I've not considered Bakula a curse. I've not heard that. That's interesting. Because I have enjoyed watching him in virtually everything I have seen him in.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's in Star Trek. But again, it only went 3-4 seasons.
Right.
Where everything else has gone 5, 6, or 7.
Right.
So it just begs the question. Even NCIS
New Orleans.
New Orleans,
Yes.
didn't have as long a run as people would have expected it to have.
But it's a show that I've watched the hell out of.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I loved his character. I loved him as an actor, too. So it's funny that he seems to be in this little lockbox where he only goes so far. And I don't know, it can't be him. I don't think it's him. I just think he's got an unfortunate sense of timing or something. I'm not sure what, because I would like to see him in more shows. Just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, when I heard that Enterprise was coming out, and I know we're not talking about Star Trek here, but that's not the point here. In this particular conversation, when I heard it was Scott Bakula, I was really excited because I like him.
Yes.
But I had that same thing like, oh no, not Scott Bakula. That means it's a short run show.
Short run. Yeah.
Now, 4 years isn't a short run, I
No.
guess, in TV history, but
Definitely not.
It feels like it, when you're, well, at least for me, when you're talking about Star Trek,
Yeah, the modern Star Treks were all getting 7 seasons.
Right. Yep. Anyway, more about that later.
Yes. I have absolutely nothing to say about the next thing we're going to talk about, but I will just mention it in case you have something to talk about. Star Wars did an animated show called The Clone Wars in 2003. They rebooted it in 2020, and they have had 2 different spin-offs, Star Wars Rebels 2014 and Star Wars The Bad Batch in 2021, all of which were animated, none of which I even knew existed because I don't really follow Star Wars that much.
Well, I've seen some of these, and so I am aware of them. It's funny because when you look at Star Wars, or at least when I look at Star Wars, I can't get it out of my head that people say that Star Wars is written for children and Star Trek is written for adults.
That's my mantra.
Yeah. So when you see these other shows, you can see why people feel that way, because there's an appeal that's a little different. Although I've seen episodes of each one of these shows, I don't know that they've really drawn me in and made me want to watch them. That's not quite true of like Andor, which everyone has said is the, dark edge of the Star Wars universe.
Andor is, first of all, we're splitting hairs, is not a spin-off of the Clone Wars. It's its own property. It's a spin-off of Star Wars, the movie.
Right.
But I understand Andor is supposed to be fantastic, and it's going to be on my list of things to watch, but I haven't got there yet. But I have heard good things about Andor. But if there are any other Star Wars TV shows, they're standalone off of the movie, not a spin-off of another TV show. So that's why this is the only ones I have here.
Well, that makes sense. Because, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of places to go with Star Wars, but you're right. They don't quite fall into the right narrative for what we're discussing here today. Because you got, like, Mandalore, or The Mandalorian.
And technically it had a spin-off that was really a replacement for one of its seasons, so it's kind of fits all in there.
Right, and it's coming back, but I don't know whether that's considered another
I thought it was coming back
season?
as a movie.
No, this is coming back as a show,
is it?
too. I think so. I don't know. I don't follow it enough to know exactly. I have to look into that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, The Mandalorian took a break, and then they did something about Boba Fett, which was part of The Mandalorian, and it really was just an extension of it was a season bridger. Like it was, some people consider it a season of The Mandalorian, only it was called something different. So I did not put that in here.
Right. I think the latest thing that they're talking about is called Grogu or something like that.
God, I hate him.
But as I'm sitting here right now, I don't know whether that's a series or a movie.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. So now we will move on to Stargate SG-1 and its spin-offs.
Oh, gosh.
There was an animated show, Stargate Infinity, which I've never seen.
I don't think I've seen that either.
There's Stargate Atlantis.
I've seen
and
that.
Stargate Universe.
I don't know that I've seen any of the universe.
And apparently there is a new Stargate series in development with production expected to begin in 2026, but they're calling this a new chapter in the original canon, not a reboot.
Interesting. Very interesting. Stargate was a good show. I don't know if I could say that I've seen... Is that 10 seasons of the original show?
There's a lot of seasons,
Yeah,
yes.
that's a lot of TV. I don't know that I've seen every single episode of Stargate, but I definitely have seen Stargate Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've seen any of the animated series, and I probably have seen a touch or a few pieces of Universe. But when it comes to the question of whether I was eager to see a spin-off or additional shows, it's good TV. So from that perspective, probably yes, but I don't know if I'd go to the fanatic stage for Stargate. I will say I'm a fan.
Yes, yeah. I'm a fan of Stargate, and it's kind of funny that I watched very, very, very little of SG-1. But when Stargate Atlantis was announced, I got excited. And I watched Stargate Atlantis and then went back and rewatched, or not rewatched, but watched from the beginning all of SG-1.
Right.
And I have seen all of Stargate Universe.
Okay, because now I'm sitting here thinking about that. Is Stargate Universe the one that's supposed to go back to the ancient discovery of the Stargate? Back in... I mean, were they the little short episodes that were streaming only?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Because I've seen some of these episodic show where they show, again, it's kind of like a Indiana Jones thing where they find the Stargate in the sands in wherever it was, Africa or whatever.
Right.
And the Nazis try to steal it and that kind of thing. That doesn't ring a bell to you?
It does not ring a bell to me. That's definitely not Universe.
Okay. Yeah, this goes back to the original location of the Stargate.
What has always intrigued me, and I kind of laugh and smile about, because I enjoy all of the shows I'm going to mention, but it's just sort of funny. So you have the Next Generation from Star Trek. And basically they're just explorers going from place to place to place, and we see what happens. And we have Stargate SG-1, which is basically explorers that go from place to place to place to place, and we just see what happens. And then we have Deep Space Nine, which is really all about the happenings at a particular base. And then we have Stargate Atlantis, which is all about the happenings at a particular base. And then we have Star Trek Voyager, which was flung way out into unknown areas of space, and their goal is to try and find a way to get back. Guess what Stargate Universe is?
Flung out
flung
and trying to
way
get
out
back.
into some unknown area of space, and they're trying to get back.
Interesting.
So it's always kind of funny to me. And should either one of these not exist? No, they should both exist.
Yeah. That's it. Like I said, I thought Stargate was good TV.
Absolutely. All right, so now we're going to go to something kind of weird, which is the reboot of the TV show V that came in 1984.
Right.
They did a reboot of it in 2009. Here is another 25-year gap that I'm going to have trouble talking about. The reason is that the original, to many people, is a beloved show, of which I have not seen. I decided to just skip the original and jump right to the reboot, mainly because it has Morena Baccarin from Firefly in it. And the show was pretty good, and I enjoyed it. But I can't do a comparison of the original to the reboot, remembering that the storylines, they weren't very special effects heavy.
Right.
So a tremendous jump in technology and production may not have increased the quality of the show.
Right. Isn't that interesting? Because at first, when we brought up this particular show, I was thinking that I would have seen the original, but now I'm sitting here thinking, I don't recall. I must have seen the 2009 version, and I believe I did watch all of that. These were the visitors from outer space that came as friends, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely believe I've seen the whole series from 2009, but I don't recall. There's only one season back in 84?
No, there were 2 seasons, I believe, but it started as a miniseries. They did a 3-episode, I believe, miniseries, and then after that, they did a TV show from 1984 to 1985, and I think it was 2 seasons, but I'm not 100% sure. And then it went on, and 29 to 2011, they did the reboot.
Right.
I remember the buzz around V when it came out in the 80s.
Right.
But I never watched any. I wasn't in a TV watching mode then for that kind of thing. And then I did watch the 2009 version, and I did enjoy it.
Right. Well, I'd have to say the same thing. I just don't recall whether I've seen any of the original show.
So we're going to move to a show that you mentioned, which was The Walking Dead. There have been a lot of spin-offs, but many of them were webisodes.
Okay.
And they were also broadcast during the commercials, during the TV episodes.
Okay.
So I don't know what are what. The Walking Dead Torn Apart, The Walking Dead Cold Storage, The Walking Dead The Oath. Fear the Walking Dead was an actual TV show, I know that. Fear the Walking Dead Flight 462, The Walking Dead The World Beyond, The Walking Dead Dead City. That I think might be a regular show. The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon might be a real show. The Walking Dead The Ones Who Live. It's too much. it's too much. The actual spin-offs started right about the time I was getting tired of the original show. So I would watch a couple of the spin-offs to see if they were doing something different. But to me, it was more of the same.
Right.
And I quit watching it, and I quit watching the original show a short time later. So for Walking Dead fans, when Rick and Maggie left, I left.
Okay, well, you went right past me on that one. I think we've had this conversation, at least between the two of us. I don't know whether we've mentioned it in a podcast. I would assume we have over as many podcasts as we've had, but I am not a fan of the zombie shows.
No.
Zombie stories.
You've mentioned that.
Yeah. For me personally, and I'm not 100% sure why this is, but I just think it's a cop-out. It's a cheap way of going, of storytelling. I don't know why. I just have always felt like that. So I never, ever got into The Walking Dead. I recently was watching or looking for TV shows to watch, and I think the one that just came out, I don't even know the whole storyline here, but it's a young girl who has an immunity to the disease, I guess, but doesn't want to tell anybody.
Okay.
Is that the one who lived or ones who lived?
I have not seen. I saw a little bit of the Fear the Walking Dead. I've seen the webisodes when they came on at the commercials, but I have not seen the latest one, and that might be what it's about.
I think so. I think this is the latest one. It's the two people are traveling together and they find a small group of people. Anyway, that had some appeal because it's a story about relationship between these two people, but the zombie thing has always been unappealing to me. And that goes back to almost all kinds of stories that I've gotten into. Particularly when it brings to mind is it's not a TV show at all, but a book. Terry Goodkind's Wizard's First Rule. That Terry Goodkind books, the whole series of books, I really enjoyed until they got to the zombies.
Right.
And I'm like, oh gosh, really? You have to have zombies?
Yes, at that time, you did.
And it just doesn't appeal to me. But what's funny is I got to say I Am Legend is one of my favorite movies. I mean, I really like that movie. And that's a zombie story, so I don't know what my problem is. Yeah. So I can't say that I've watched a single episode of Walking Dead original series shows through what I assume I've seen now, maybe 3 episodes of the very latest one.
Okay.
So that's my whole history of The Walking Dead.
Yeah. Man, it was must-see TV for me on Sunday nights. I loved it from the minute I started watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And it grew, and it got better as it grew. And then it got too big. Mm-hmm. And then you know what happens. And it went on the decline. And I followed it as long as I could. And I found a jumping off point, and I jumped off.
Right. So tell me, I mean, you and I always have had slightly different versions of what we consider good TV. So what about The Walking Dead did you like? What was it that drew your attention and made you want to watch it?
The Walking Dead was not about zombies. It was about the people trying to figure out how to survive in this time that there are zombies. And for the purists of Walking Deads, yes, they're walkers. They do a very intentional thing of never saying the word zombie.
Okay.
In The Walking Dead. There aren't zombies. They're walkers in this group. And if they find another group, they've got a different name, like the Biters. So they all have different names for what these creatures are that are zombies, but they really refrain from ever using the word zombie. But for practical purposes, everybody understands what the zombie is and the walkers are.
Right.
It was the character drama and relationships that made this show great. And as the show evolved, it got to what special effects can we do that are going to look gruesome and cool on TV. They would just make up these horrible, horrible scenarios for people who were trapped in these zombie bodies. And the show started leaning on that more. You waited for what is going to be the big special effect of this episode more than what are they going to do.
Right.
I mean, it still had character drama, don't get me wrong.
Right.
It wasn't all then just special effects.
Right.
But the tone of it changed. And like it or not, it has to.
Right.
You cannot have high gripping drama forever.
Right.
It can't happen. So it moves and it changes and you can follow it, but eventually how did I get here? And that's where I got.
Right. Hear me out for just a second, because I've been trying to analyze what it is that I object to. And I appreciate what you're saying, that it's just a character story. And I probably, from that perspective, if I could take the zombies out of it or the walkers out of it, I could probably enjoy it better. But what's always bothered me about zombies, and this goes back to the very first zombie movie I ever saw, and frankly, it was by accident. I saw Night of the Living Dead in the theater when I was 7, 8 years old. Way too young to see that movie. Funny story that goes with it. But the fact remains that I've always thought, even since the beginning, okay, so a virus infects people that then they come back to life. Now they're living. And instead of the story being related to, well, how do they feed themselves? They're searching for brains. Now, I don't know, in the Walking Dead series, do they ever show the walkers eating people's brains?
No, they like to cut open torsos and pull intestines out and eat the innards. That's usually what they go for.
Okay.
But it's not brains.
Right. Okay. So the idea that a zombie would want to eat your brain has always bothered me, because why? That's got very little nutritional value.
Right.
It would have not the greatest texture, or for that matter, I imagine taste.
Right.
But why brains? What's the important feature of that? It doesn't make them any more intelligent or anything of that nature, but why specifically were zombies going after brains? So that
I don't have that answer. Yeah.
I've always thought that was something that didn't make sense to me. If they were just carnivorous and eating people, whatever muscle and bone they could get if their teeth are out. That would be something else entirely. That's more like werewolves, right?
Yeah, that's what they do on The Walking Dead. They go after living beings.
Right. It also relates to something that I really despise about movies that have dinosaurs in them.
Okay.
Every one of the dinosaur movies that I've seen basically does the same trope. People that are either thrust back into a place where dinosaurs exist, or dinosaurs become part of the current, life cycle of the people, like in, all of the Jurassic Park movies.
Right.
Why would dinosaurs coming back to life, or dinosaurs that live in ancient times, consider people as a primary food source? It doesn't make sense. They would have been eating other large dinosaur animals. A Tyrannosaurus Rex would have to eat 6 dozen people in order to fill up his stomach.
Right.
It's an illogic that I can't get over. We would not be their first attack predatory approach. They wouldn't come after us like that. They just wouldn't.
Right.
They would choose prey that they knew. They would eat amounts of food that seemed logical and reasonable to them. We would not be the first thing on their menu.
No.
So anyway, maybe it's about food. Maybe that's my problem.
Yeah. All of your issues with zombies and dinosaurs are food related.
Mm-hmm. All my objections are food related. Yep. Oh my gosh. That's funny.
But I would feel that for The Walking Dead, to get back to that for a second, they've had 11 seasons of the original Walking Dead.
Wow.
If you started off and you started watching season 1, which is a relatively short season, it's only 6 episodes long. If you watched season 1, 6 episodes of The Walking Dead, I think you would be very impressed with it. If you were to just pick a random season like season 9, I have no idea what's going on in season 9, and started watching from the first episode of season 9, you'd think it was the dumbest show in the world. Because the only way your brain can get to enjoy what's happening there is to have gone through the process of taking in all of the other episodes that led up to it. Because, well, first you'd be lost. You'd have no idea who's who and what they're doing and why they're doing it, because you didn't get to learn any of that.
Right.
That build up. So
right.
Any show that you just start watching the first episode of season 9, and that's the first thing you've ever seen, you're not going to enjoy it because you can't possibly understand what's happening.
Right.
Except maybe the NCISs. Those you could just pick up anywhere, watch any show at any time.
Since we're not going to spin off and talk about the NCISs at any time in the future, can I just make an observation about NCIS?
Sure.
Okay. I have a friend. My wife and I have a mutual friend, actually. Her name is Allison. And we go to the theater once a month or so, where we have a community theater. We have season tickets to the show. And she has 2 tickets, but she brings a random friend with her on a regular occasion. One of the friends that she brings with her is a true crime scene investigator.
Okay.
And I have to say, the NCISs have done absolutely nothing for the crime scene investigation people. Because
I can't imagine they have.
The disconnect between what those shows think a crime scene investigator does and what they actually do is so ridiculous. It's not even within the realm of credulity, if you ask me. I love those shows. Mark Harmon has done an incredible job of creating characters and constructing scenes and events around them that are intriguing, but they are truly fiction in the truest form of the word.
Yes.
A crime scene investigator is not going undercover. It's not doing any of that. It's not showing up with guns. They're
not enforcers.
They're not enforcers. They're investigators. They give all that information to the people who actually do all the work.
Yes.
You know, they're lab nerds. They're tech people. They're not anything like what they're represented in.
Each of those shows has one character that is actually the entire division.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's 100% true, you know?
So, in reality, everybody is Abby, or everybody is the guy on the computer.
Right. Blue is the one that's in the Australian show.
Right.
You know, it's fascinating to me that they've taken a whole group of people and turned them into a fiction.
Yes. Well, the last show we are going to talk about is the X-Files.
Ah, X-Files.
Started in 1993. Now, technically it wasn't a reboot in 2016, I guess, because it really continues with the original characters and the original show. It wasn't a brand new thing with new people. There was a show called Millennium in 1996. I understand it's really kind of a spin-off, but none of the characters actually came from the X-Files.
Okay.
But then there's The Lone Gunman from 2001. To me, there are some story arcs within the X-Files that could arguably be considered some of the best TV ever produced.
I agree.
It also kept going long after the original mystery was solved. And people, I being one of them, kept watching.
Right. I liked X-Files. I really did. There was a good show. Now, I can't say that I've seen Millennium or The Lone Gunman.
Well, Millennium, when I was doing research, called it a spin-off, but I believe it's a sister show. It's the Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, Chicago Med. It's in the same universe, happening at the same time, but there aren't really too many crossover characters.
Right. What about The Lone Gunman? You've probably seen that, right?
I wasn't able to watch it when it first ran, and then I forgot about it. And then one day I thought, oh, The Lone Gunman, I wonder how that show was. And then I ended up watching it, and I was impressed by how good it was and how much I liked it.
Wow.
But it does go down in history for a piece of trivia. Do you know what the trivia piece is on The Lone Gunman?
No, I do not.
The date here is very important. The pilot episode of the spin-off Lone Gunman, which aired March of 2001, gained notoriety for a plot involving a government conspiracy to remotely hijack a commercial airliner and crash it into the World Trade Center.
Oh, jeez.
A chilling parallel to the real-world attacks that occurred 6 months later.
Wow. Wow.
So when I watched this long after it aired, and I get to this first episode, I think, how could they do an episode about that?
Right.
And then you look it up, and it was done 6 months before it happened.
Interesting.
So,
Interesting.
but the X-Files, could it be rebooted? As in, let's do the same story with different people or a similar story with a different people? It has been. Like, you could argue that shows like Fringe, which I'm not trying to piss anybody off, Fringe is not the X-Files, but Fringe is a version of what an X-Files spinoff would be if they tried to reboot it with new characters.
Right. Oh, I love Fringe. I always forget the name of that show, but I love Fringe. I think that's a great show.
Fringe was excellent, but it was FBI, people who were secluded away from everybody else, investigating weird stuff. So, again, it's not the X-Files. Fringe fanatics get upset when you compare it to the X-Files, because it's not the X-Files. Yeah, we know it's not the X-Files, but it's a similar enough type of a show that
Right.
if Fringe didn't exist and somebody wanted to reboot X-Files with new characters in a new direction, it could have been the exact show Fringe was.
Right. Okay, Jeff, so we've made it to the X-Files, which was the last series we planned on speaking about in this particular episode.
Yes.
And I think we have found that there is opportunity within this area to have further discussions.
Correct.
And specifically, we have talked that we are going to separate out Star Trek as a podcast that we intend to do in the near future.
Correct.
So I'm looking forward to the Star Trek episode, which isn't, as a matter of timing, not going to be the next episode.
Probably not, just because I don't want to do 2 of these in a row.
Right. And we are coming up against what we know as our convention season. So
Correct.
We're kind of in a state of flux right now. I can't say that I know what our next podcast is going to be about. And I'm not sure that you do. Do you?
I don't know what it's going to be. I could tell you a bunch of things it's not going to be, but I don't know what it's going to be.
Yes. We are very excited overall because the two of us have been discussing the fact that we are approaching a milestone in what we consider our podcasting career.
Yes.
We have an exciting convention season coming up where we don't know what's going to happen, but it's coming up shortly. So we're going to have to leave ourselves a little open to telling our podcast fans what is next.
Well, I think what I will do, and this will just commit us to doing something, is I have a what we hope to do and what you will hear if that doesn't happen.
Okay, that's fair enough.
This episode has come out first Thursday of May. The next episode will come out the first Thursday of June. We will be attending the Fan Expo in Philadelphia at the very, very end of May, like the 29th through 31st. So in order to get the episode out on that Thursday, when it ends on Sunday, is going to be a lot of crunch time trying to record and edit. That's what we are going to try to do because we always do an episode about our convention experiences, and this year will be no different. So our
Correct.
hope and intention is to get a convention episode out. However, if time and logistics and everything prevents that from happening, we are going to do a review of Neil Gaiman's book, which is a biography of how hitchhikers came into existence and all of the trials and tribulations that go along with it. More than a biography of Douglas Adams himself, though there's a lot of that in there, all of the Douglas Adams biography stuff pretty much centers on Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Correct. And that particular book is called Don't Panic, the official Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy companion. Well, I really appreciate the fact that you've given us a little bit of leeway in coming up with the potential for our next episode. I am clearly looking forward to the time that we get to spend at the convention coming up shortly. And I know it's going to be an exciting summer.
Yes.
So, what do you think it's time to say, Jeff?
Well, now that we know we are either going to talk about ourselves or talk about something that they're interested in, I'm going to say that this is the end. Thank you for listening to this. A new episode is released on the first Thursday of every month. Visit our website at digitalwatchesareaprettyneatidea.buzzsprout.com. While there, you can find links to all of my Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy inspired t-shirt designs. You can contact us via email at digitalwatchespodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on YouTube and Facebook at Digital Watches Are a Pretty Neat Idea. You can message us on Twitter, or should I say X, at Watches Idea. And our Instagram is Watches Idea Podcast.
This has been a Fruits for Thought production, darling. This This has been a Fruits for Thought production, darling. This has been a Fruits for Thought production, darling. This has been a Fruits for Thought production, darling. This has been a Fruits for Thought production, darling.